Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to give you an insight of a movie that I watched yesterday. This movie is called Temple and you can find it on Netflix. So this movie is from 2017 and it's a horror movie that is set in Japan. It talks about these three American guys that decide to go to this trip in Japan, and one of them especially needs this holiday because he just lost his brother. His name is Chris, and he's going there with his best friend Kate and her boyfriend James. So at the beginning of the movie, we see this badly disfigured guy that is interrogated by a policeman that talks to him in Japanese and has a translator that is translating for him. We already know that only one person survived what happened in that temple. So the girl is already out of the picture, and we presume that this guy is James, given the only guy that speaks Japanese in the group is Chris. So the director was trying to mislead us into thinking this, but actually the guy is Chris. So already from the beginning of the movie, this doesn't make any sense. So while they're in Japan, Chris is filming constantly all around because he always wanted to go to Japan. James and Chris really don't know each other. It's the first time that they met, and Chris is Kate's best friend, so he should be supportive, but he doesn't really like James because he knows that he's a jerk, and James knows that Chris is Kate's best friend, but he doesn't like him because he thinks that it's weird for a girl to have a male best friend and anything ever happen between them. So already this makes you think he's a jerk. He's very jealous about this friendship, but Chris himself doesn't seem to be like a real best friend. Like, he seems to be interested in Kate in some way. And Kate as well, she's staying with James, but she like also Chris. So since the beginning of this movie, you're really not sympathizing with any of them because you think all of them are very annoying, and for the choices that they will take later, they're kind of stupid. Let's go back to the story. So at the beginning, we have this guy that is being interrogated about what happened to the temple, and so we know through his story what's happened there. Basically, when they were in Japan, they were going around for shops, and they go to this shop where they found this book that talks about a temple, a beautiful temple that they want to see and they want to find. But when they go to the owner and they want to buy the book, the owner tells them that this book is not for sale. And doesn't make sense because why the book is there. So we think that this book might have been there because someone placed it there. But if the owner knows about this book and he knows what it talks about, presumably the owner was the one that placed it there. So it doesn't make sense already that he left it there and it's not on sale. It can happen sometimes that just some things are just on display in some shops, but usually they're inside glass or something. They're protected so that no one can take them. In this case, no, the book is just there in plain sight. So Chris comes back to the shop another time, another occasion. Instead of finding the owner, he found a child that basically sells him the book. So later, as Chris is taking a look at this book in a bar, there is a man that approached him and told him that that temple is not far from where they are, but he shouldn't go there because it's not safe. A terrible thing happened there in the past, especially for some children that disappeared, and they warned him not to go there. But he doesn't care, he just goes back to his friends and he shows them the book and he tells them, look, this temple is not very far from here, and if we find someone that can guide us, we can probably reach it very easily. And while they're looking for accommodation, they end up in a place where Chris finds the same child that sold him the book. And this child tells him that he can lead them to the temple. So they decide to go there and they follow this child and they go through this forest to reach the temple that is in a mountain. While they're going into this forest, they found a cave and James wants to explore it, but they tell him, look, it's getting late, so we better look at the temple first, and then if we have time, we can go back to the cave. As they reach the temple, they found a statue of a kitsune that is like a shapeshifter guardian, something that keeps away people that are not welcome. While they're staying at the temple, Kate and James have an argument about the fact that he is jealous of Chris, and you knows also about the fact that Kate was pregnant and she get an abortion. So after the argument, James leaves the temple and decides to go into the forest, and that's where he meets the kitsune in person. This is a horrible creature and is chasing him through the forest. And while he's escaping, Kate and Chris heard this screaming, so Kate decided to follow him and to look for him. And at that point, Chris is all by himself by the temple, and he sees this presence and he's trying to hide inside the temple, but he's there that is attacked by the disappeared children that basically devour him. That's why he's so disfigured at the beginning of the movie. While Kate is looking for her boyfriend, she goes back to the cave that James wanted to explore, and she goes deep into this cave because she hears moaning and whispering, and at the beginning we think that she's following what she thinks is James, but eventually you realize that she's not really following James, she's just thinking that there is someone there, and it's not really safe because it's night, this is a cave and you've never been there, so you're going deep into this cave without knowing what you're going to find there and if you can come back, because she's not just tracing her steps back to the exit, she's just going deeper and deeper into this cave without knowing if she will eventually find a way out. So eventually she found James, but he's without his eyes, and she's attacked as well by the same kitsune that attacked him. That's when we go back to the disfigured guy and the policeman that is interrogating him. And the policeman asks him repeatedly, where is the girl? What happened to her? So this makes us think that they just found the body of James and not the body of Kate. We realize that the guy that is talking is Chris. Also, they are accusing him of killing these two people. All this happened in his mind and they actually killed James and Kate. But why? It doesn't make any sense. If he was in love with Kate, why didn't he just kill James? Or he just killed them because he was jealous and he didn't just want them to be together. This is not explained. It doesn't make much sense into the story. And eventually we don't know also what happened to the children that disappeared in this temple. Were they taken by the kitsune? They became part of the legend that surrounded this temple. We don't know. Chris eventually gets mad and we don't understand why he's behaving that way, why he's going crazy and he's trying to murder the people that are interrogating him. And we are left with this doubt. We don't know anything. There is no explanation whatsoever in this movie for all that happened, and we are basically left with this mystery. Kind of like in the Blair Witch Project. There probably was some kind of inspiration for this movie, but if that was the purpose, they failed. This didn't work for this movie. What pisses me off about this movie is that there are a lot of horror tropes that are not used in the right way. They had like amazing location to create a great story. Even if it wasn't like a masterpiece, it could have been still a pretty decent movie. And it didn't get advantage of the location and of plotting a better story for this movie. They just use a lot of these tropes, a lot of this cliche, all put together in this movie don't work at all. The acting was not really good in my opinion as well. It was not bad, but it was not great. And this story, eventually it leaves you a bitter taste. The only interesting thing about this movie is basically the creature, the kitsune, that is a real concept in Japanese culture, and it could have been interesting to know more about Japanese culture since it's set there. And given I love Japanese culture, that's what first led me to watch this movie. But I was really disappointed because we don't see many things about Japanese culture. We have a glimpse of some stuff, but not much. We just see these three guys that have been warned several times not to go to this temple and eventually meeting their fate. So this is all I can tell you about this movie. It's not a really good one, but if you want to watch it, you can find it on Netflix. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe and hit the notification bell. I've got more content on its way and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.